Hi guys, my name's Aiden, and today I'm going to be teaching you everything you guys need to know about how to pass your N on your first try. I passed a couple days ago and it actually was a lot easier than I thought it would be, and I want to share what the experience is like and everything you need to practice before the test. And most importantly, just don't stress about the test because that's when you will fail. Now, everyone's experience for trying to pass the test is going to be a lot different because different people are in the car with you telling you if you passed or failed. Keep in mind that if this person does want you to fail, you will fail. They will find anything and everything to make you fail. So make sure to be friends with them first. That is the first tip I have for you. Be friends with the guy. I don't know what they're called. The guy that's judging you. The judge. I'm going to call him the judge. Make small talk at the beginning, but don't talk during the test because they will count that as distracted driving. So yes, just make sure to be friendly and they will be friendly back to you, and hopefully you will pass the test. Now this next tip is for before you actually start the test. When you're going to park at wherever you're taking the test, make sure to back in because that will make it easier. So when you're starting the test, you can actually pull out forward rather than having to back out as your first thing on the test. Because backing out is a lot harder than going forward. And it's just a lot easier knowing which turn signals to put on and everything when going forward. So yeah, tip number 2, just make sure to back in before starting your test. Whoa, people on this road are going really fast. Like, it's pretty much a lane. It's like a 1-lane road. It's crazy. Anyways, number 3 is just kind of a given, but make sure you know where everything on your car is from front to back. Make sure you know the turn signals, obviously, how to turn on the windshield wipers, high beams, and they will also ask you if you know how to defrost the car. I did not know this at the beginning, and I was using a student driver's car, so I actually didn't know how to do it. I quickly looked around and I found where it was, luckily. I'm not sure if you'd fail or not for that, but just make sure you know everything about your car. Now, in my experience, the guy was pretty friendly, but it was still kind of stressful having him in the car, of course, telling you which way to go right when you get to the intersections. Now, one thing that gets a lot of people demerits off is their turning. You do not want to cross your hands turning, you don't want one hand when you're turning, and definitely not no hands. So make sure you always have 2 hands on the vehicle, and the turn is as shown. I actually didn't really know this until the day before my test, so I practiced a ton with this turn the day before my test, and it only takes about 10 tries per side, and then you'll kind of get it down. It's honestly not as hard as people say it is to do the turns without crossing your hands. It is a little harder when they're sharp turns, but it'll definitely keep you points, and you'll look a lot better when you're driving. Now, before we keep going, let me just put this out there. I'm not a guru at this. I passed my first try, but I mean, I'm still 17. I still have my N. I don't know everything about driving. I just know what the experience was like, and I'm sharing my info with you that I know. Now, this next tip is that you do not need to turn right on a red light. Remember, you actually don't need to turn right on a red light because it is a red light and that's what it's there for. And if you are going to turn right on the red light, make sure you look left, you shoulder check, look left again, and make sure you come to a complete stop because you will fail. It's an automatic fail if you do not come to a complete stop. But once again, you do not need to turn right on a red light, and the test is only about half an hour. So if you do not turn right on a red light, it will actually go through some of your test time and you won't have to drive as much. Now, my next tip is just what you've probably heard over and over again if you're about to take your N, is just shoulder check, shoulder check, shoulder check. Just always shoulder check. Every single time you're about to turn right or left, just shoulder check, make sure there's no one around. Every single time you pass any intersections, make sure you look around, even if you don't have a red light, just in case someone's coming. If you don't have a stop sign, still just look around. So many people are seeing me do this. It gets more awkward every second. If you're liking this video so far, please smash a like and share this with your friends or family that are trying to pass their N test. Also, I'm not sure if I've said this already, it's probably in the title, but this is set for BC. I'm not sure if it's the same every other place, but I'm going with my experiences from British Columbia. Now, the next thing you've probably also heard a ton, but it's just do not speed, like at all. Make sure you're looking for those 30 signs, and by the time you get to the 30 sign, you should be going 30. Not when you get to the 30 sign, you start slowing down. By the time you get to these signs, make sure you're going the speed that is posted. And if it's a 30 zone, it's kind of hard. I kind of hate it because you can't really tell when the 30 zone ends. You should be looking on your left for the backwards sign of the other side's 30 zone. If you can't see it, just make sure you're far out of the playground or the construction zone or whatever zone you're in. Make sure you're far away from it before you start speeding up again, because it's better safe than sorry, and you will fail your test if you do speed. Even if you're 1 kilometer over, it's against the law. So just do not speed. go about 5 under, but also don't go too slow because they do get angry if you're about 10 under. There's no need. Now, one thing that lots of people are stressing out about is the parking, and that is what I stressed about a lot. And actually, it's not as important as the driving itself and the shoulder checking and everything else I've already talked about. You should still practice parking, but don't worry if you're doing a backwards park and you end up hitting one of the lines just slightly, because me, on my very end of the test, I rolled in backwards. I didn't even need to do backwards. I thought he somehow said do a backwards park, but it was just any park. So I missed one car, which I could have parked straight in, and instead I just kept going, and then I just did the worst, like 4-point turn backwards, and then I was like diagonal in it, and then he looks at me and he's like, well, good thing you passed the test. So don't stress too much about those parkings. For the parallel parking though, do make sure every single time you put it into reverse, you do your around the world check. That is looking left mirror, front mirror, and right shoulder check. And then while you're going backwards, make sure not to just look at the mirrors too much. He did say I did this a little too much. So just make sure you're holding on with one hand and you look back. This is the only time you'll have one hand on the steering wheel to look back through your actual window. Now, the third type of parking they'll make you do is a pullover. I actually took one lesson and they kept saying 5 inches to 10 inches away from the curb you want to be, but I was maybe like 15 inches away, and he didn't care at all. They aren't going to pull out a measuring tape or anything, so just as long as you're a safe distance away from the middle of the road. And also make sure you do not hit the curb though, because lots of people will fail you for this. Some might not, but it is something that is frowned upon. If you are about to hit the curb, make sure to put it back into drive and do not hit that curb. Just go out. They're okay if you take a couple turns to do this parallel park. It won't look as good, but you can still pass doing that rather than hitting the curb. Now, do be cautious on your test, but don't be too cautious. I got told I was a little too cautious, but I kind of got screwed over actually, because there was a bike on my right-hand side. The light turned green, so they had the right of way, and they were on their phone, but I wasn't gonna cut in front of them during my test. And they ended up waiting like a whole minute until putting on their gloves and everything, and then finally they went and I went. And then one other time, I also had a whole field trip of kids try to cross, and I had to wait for them, and I could have just gone in front of them, but I didn't. So do be cautious, because I still passed the test being cautious. It's better safe than sorry, but also don't worry too much about being too cautious where you're waiting for a whole line of kids to pile up to cross the street. You can just go. Anyways, I'm trying to think if there's any more tips I can give you. Just overall, the biggest tip is just do not stress. Like, I was stressed, not too much, but I was stressed a little bit. And then right when I started going, I kind of loosened up, and that's just the best way to drive, is when you're all loose and you aren't stressing. Anyways, I hope you guys liked this video. I hope you guys learned a few things if you're in BC, or even if you're not in BC and you're just trying to take your end test. And please like, subscribe. It helps a ton for the